So, Congressman, let's start with the Budget Committee because we haven't heard much about it. In fact, somebody said the other day, hey, let's remember there's this big thing going on here. Or is the committee doing any work?
Well, Bill, we've got to step up the pace. My view is we've got to turbocharge this effort. It's not been moving nearly as quickly as it should be. My view is we should have a agreement at least far along by Thanksgiving. There's no reason we shouldn't be able to put together a framework agreement. We do have a meeting today, a public meeting that will be attended by Doug Elmendorf, who's the head of the Congressional Budget Office. But there's no reason we shouldn't get this done. And I hope, people will remember the shameful government shutdown we saw that long ago, and the threats of default. And this budget negotiation is designed to prevent that kind of thing from happening again.
Now, this is not another super committee, right? There's not like a big turbocharge of whatever cloud over your head.
Right. No, this is not a super committee. We don't have, quote, superpowers like the super committee did.
Yeah.
But it is a group that's...
And no sequester hanging. That's what the word I was looking for.
Well, that's right.
Yeah.
But of course, if this committee does not reach an agreement, the likely result is when you come 2014, January 15th of 2014, the sequester would remain in effect. And the Congressional Budget Office, which, as you know, is our nonpartisan referee, has told us that if the sequester remains in effect throughout the fiscal year 2014, we will see 800,000 fewer jobs in this country by this time next year. That's the Congressional Budget Office. So it's doing damage to the economy. It's eating away at important investments right now as we speak. And so it would be smart to replace that sequester cuts, very deep and immediate cuts, with a smarter long-term deficit reduction plan.
Do you have a deadline for your committee?
Well, the deadline is December 13th.
Okay.
And so we're working hard to try and get something done. As I said, I would like to see something put together even before that so that the appropriators, the folks who decide how to allocate the amount, overall amounts in the budget, can get to work. They really can't get to work in earnest until we tell them how much they've got available.
I know there is sort of the feeling, it seems, in this Congress that if you have a deadline, you don't do anything until the very last minute, right? What you're saying,
and of course,
you don't have to wait till December 12 to meet the December 13.
Well, that's exactly right. Yeah. And of course, in the case of October 1st government shutdown, there are people that said, well, let's just wait till we get closer to the deadline. And what happened? They totally missed the deadline and shut down the government. Again, all because of an ideological agenda.
And what is the goal as you see it? The president keeps talking about a balanced approach, right? Of cuts and revenues. Is there any sense from the committee and the Republicans on the committee that revenues have to be part of the equation?
Well, Republicans have taken the position that you can't close a single tax loophole, not one special interest tax loophole, for the purpose of reducing the deficit or for the purpose of replacing the sequester. Their argument is that if you get rid of a tax loophole, you've got to drop the tax rates. And in fact, their budget would provide a windfall tax break for the wealthiest people in this country, for multimillionaires. They would drop the top tax rate from 39% to 25%. That's a third cut in tax rates for millionaires in this country. And so what we said is that's ridiculous. If you really care about reducing the deficit, you should look for savings in terms of cutting some of the programs that we're going to have to look at, but focus on the out years. But you should also close some of these tax loopholes. I mean, some of these, as you know, actually reward and encourage corporations that ship American jobs overseas and provide huge incentives for multinational corporations to park their profits in places like the Cayman Islands. Some of them hire some of the corporations hire up to 1,000 lawyers to engineer their taxes in a way to keep it overseas, and as opposed to helping reduce the deficit
Plus
and
the tax
investing here at
loopholes
home.
for the oil companies that we've been talking about for a long time. I mean, there are plenty of...
Those are big subsidies for the big oil companies, and there's no reason taxpayers should continue to shell out subsidies to companies that are, great, doing very well, but they should do well without taxpayer support and subsidies.